What's up, C4 fam? This is Shawn Smith from Drippin' and Black Productions. And this is a part of the C4 challenge that I actually challenged somebody with. I am videotaping this just in case I use the video for something else. But I challenged my brother, Shawn Connors, because he was telling a story about being a father, single father, and he has the kids, and that's, the trope that we hear that brothers are not being fathers, and he's doing it solo. So I challenged him, since he was telling a story about it. I said, man, you got a lot of stories. You need to talk about that. So I challenged you, if you do one, I'll do one for Black men. And my part will actually be, I'm a caregiver and for my mother. And that's been a very, very interesting travels, being a caregiver. And I'll go into some things about being a caregiver, African-American male, and some other things that I've traversed throughout this journey being here. I've been a caregiver, primary caregiver for 5 or 6 years. You start losing time on that. And this episode, I'm going to talk about, how's your mom? That question bothered me so much, partly because I didn't know how to answer it. To give you a little background, my mother has dementia, and we got it diagnosed around probably 7 or 8 years ago. And the story in doing that is worth telling. I think I will do that as another part. But and this man, my sister and I had just moved to East Lansing, Michigan, to take a position at a community college up in Lansing, and I was living up there. And we kept getting these messages back. I'll go for the weekends to visit my mother. And, my sons will probably be there with me, because at that time they were still under 18. And instead of bringing them up to Lansing, I would bring them down, meet over my mother's house. And I watched them there, where I didn't really watch them because they was kind of older at that time anyway. So that's what I did. But during this journey, one of the questions that I didn't know how to answer is when people told me, how's your mom? And that's one of the things I'm talking about, is when you're talking to a caregiver, I'm going to be totally honest with you. I'm going to give you my perspective. I'm going to give you what I felt and things like that. First of all, again, first part of that question, didn't know how to answer it. How do you answer a question with somebody with dementia, And when I did not know how to answer that question, I asked my friends that would ask me that question, what did they mean by it? They didn't help, because I asked two very close friends of mine. Shout out to BD and David V, the host of Drippin' and Black. And they gave me two different answers. One said, well, I'm really asking about you and how you dealing with it when I ask you that. So my other friend, shout out DiBk, she said, well, yes, I'm asking, how your mother and how she's doing and things like that. And again, I didn't know how to answer that. How do you answer a question, somebody has dementia? And if you know anything about dementia, it's not going to get any better. So so you can't tell them, you can tell them what you want, but it was hard for me to express that, especially at times if I'm going through some things. And it was hard to answer that, because she'll forget what she said, what she's done, and will be merrily on the way. I had the memories, and I had to deal with those memories and things like that. And I actually brought this up to my therapist, And we need to make therapy. Matter of fact, in America, Black men should come with a therapist as we born, but that's another podcast for another day. And she said that was a good idea. And I said, because I gave her, said, maybe I'll do a short podcast or a blog about being a Black male caregiver. And she said she thought it was a great idea. I thought it was horrible because it has to make me rehash all those stories. And some of the stories could be funny, but as a caregiver, they ain't funny because there was something that you had to deal with. And again, there's some crazy things that came out of being a caregiver for someone with dementia. So when I asked that question, again, I did not know how to answer it. I still don't really know how to answer it. I kind of get more specific, my standard answer is she's killing me, so she's doing fine. And physically, she's doing great. Matter of fact, she's probably healthier than all of us right now. But it's still that dementia. That's still, you see it every day. You see, you get a different, you don't know what to expect. Every moment, it's not even every day. Every moment you can get a different one. You could be getting cussed out. I've been called a white man. I've been called a bunch of MFs and stuff like that. Then you could get a sweet one. You could get, it runs the gamut. But again, I'm going to talk about my experience with it. And I hope somebody learns something from it, because that is why I decided to do it, is because somebody might need that. And it's hard to connect unless you're in it, because you hear a bunch of other stuff. I'll talk to you about going to support groups and what I've talked about in therapy, about it, friends and and how this disease has sprouted arguments and disagreements and people not talking to each other and stuff like that, and how family dynamics play into it. So it's going to be an interesting journey. And I'm going to go through it with you all. So I hope you get something out of it. Please comment if you have some comments. One of the things I do, especially for the video, but I also give a shout out to a former student. I'm holding up the shirt. A former student, Mike Wynn Jr., and his brand Grind to Shine. I'll put his link up there as well to each episode that I do. I always want to shout out a Black-owned business. I do got clothes and mugs and stuff like that. I even got a 757 Renaissance Man mug coming, shine. So I'm supporting you as well. So I will call this my part one of it. If you have any comments and you need to talk or you need to contact me, I will leave that stuff on the page. I'm hoping that you all had a great day. This is part of the C4 challenge. I really wanted to call it Black Men Lab because I did buy that domain, but I will just call it Caregiver. And this episode is called How's Your Mom? Hopefully you have a good day. I will see you all in this challenge. Y'all have a good one. Peace.